Hi, today we're going to be talking about graphing linear equations. So, we talked about the Cartesian coordinate system last video, but now we'll be talking about graphing, how to put things onto that lines. So graphs are a way to convey information that is hard to think about in your mind. It's a way to visualize information. So if you have something like 3x plus 4y equals 8, there's infinite many solutions. You could come up with pairs that satisfy that make that statement true till you die, and it would still not be complete because there's infinite solutions. But a way to show what that might look like is by using a graph. Now, there's a few key things to keep in mind. The slope and slope-intercept form. Now, slope is basically how steep our graph is. And a way to find that is the value of our second y minus our value of our first y value, divided by our value of our second x minus our value of our first x. Now that's kind of confusing. A way that a lot of people, including myself, like to remember it is rise over run. But that's the more mathematical way to put it. The next thing to note is slope-intercept form, and that is y equals mx plus b. Now, y in this case is our output. M is our slope. X is our input. And b is our y-intercept. If you have it in slope-intercept form, where y is equal to something x plus something, then it's really easy to graph. So let's say you have something like y is equal to 2/3 x plus 1. And let me drop a graph really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One way that I like to do it is we know that our rise is 2/3. So I go up 2, 1, 2, because rise 2, over run, which is over 3. So 1, 2, 3. So here would our first point be. Oh, wait, we forgot a key point. We have plus 1. We have to start at 1. So we go up 2, 1, 2, and then over 3. 1, 2, 3. Boop. And then we probably could put more points, like down 2, and then over 3. But that's how I like to do it. And half the battle is getting it into slope-intercept form, but once you have it it's pretty easy. Now, there's another thing to keep in mind. Y-intercepts and x-intercepts. So y-intercepts are when the graph hits the y-axis, y to the sky. And opposite of that is x-intercepts, when the graph hits the x-axis. And when a graph hits an x-axis, we don't know exactly what the x value is, but we know that the y value is always going to be 0. And conversely, we know that the x value is going to be 0 when we're hitting a y-intercept, because this is at 0. And we know that the y value will be any of the numbers. So whichever one that it hits. So those are the key points. Let's just hop into it. This one wants us to find the y-intercept and x-intercept of the following linear equation. And first you want to solve for y, and I'll do that really quick. So I've put it into slope-intercept form here, just by manipulating the equation a little bit so I can isolate y to keep y by itself. That way it's in slope-intercept form, which is, here I forgot to add the x. Y is equal to -5/4x times x minus 5. So we already know that b in our slope-intercept form, the one that is not connected to the x, that is going to be our y-intercept. So we know that our y-intercept is going to be 0, -5. And we'll put that right here. For our x-intercept, we have to do a little bit more. We have to plug in. So if you remember, our x-intercept, we know, we don't know necessarily our x value, but we know that our y is going to be 0. So we need to plug in 0 for y. Y is equal to negative 5 over 4, x minus 5. Then we just solve for x, which should give you, I get negative 4. You can check my work up here. So if our x-intercept, one second, let me do x-int is equal to negative 4. And so it will be about right here. And if we graph it, we already know it's going to be negative 5 here. And then if we go up 5 over 4, boop, boop, that checks out. So our x-intercept is negative 4, 0. Yep. So this one is asking us to graph the line by plotting any two ordered pairs with integer value coordinates that satisfy the equation. We have y equals 2x. This one's really easy. There's no plus b, so it's going to be plus 0. So our first point is going to be 0, 0, because there's no y-intercept. Then anything, so if you have 2x, it's the exact same as 2 over 1 times x. So you can do up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, down 2 over negative 1, down 2 over negative 1, down 2 over negative 1. It just wants us to do it, it only wanted us to do 2 ordered pairs, but I was just showing that it's actually kind of simple. So yep. So it'll look something like this. This one is telling us to find the y-intercept and the x-intercept of the following linear equation. And I'm going to put it into slope-intercept form really quick. So I get 6 over 7x plus 4 over 7. Now we know that our y-intercept is going to be 0, 4 over 7. And that's going to be below 1, so it's going to be about right there. And we know that to find our x-intercept, we plug in 0 for y, and then we need to solve for x, which should give you negative 2/3. Now, I don't like these problems because I don't like anything that has to do with fractions very much, because I always second guess my answer. And I'm second guessing it now, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So our x-intercept is going to be about right here. And that checks out because we want it to be a positive slope, right? And then our last question is asking us to use our knowledge of x and y intercepts to choose the following graph for the equation. Now, there's a few ways to go about this. We could just plug in 0 for x and then solve for y, and that would give us our y-intercept. Or we could put it into slope-intercept form. I'm going to put it into slope-intercept form, and I'm going to do that the long way around, just in case you want to see how I do that. So 4x minus 6y is equal to 12. I move the 4x over, so I minus 4x from both sides, which leaves you with negative 6y is equal to 12 minus 4x. And then I divide both sides by negative 6 to get y by itself, which gives you y is equal to, and I like having the x in the front, so I'll do negative 2, well, it'd be positive 2/3 because that's 2 negatives, so they cross out. And then minus, and then 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. And that would be in slope-intercept form. So we know that it's going to start at negative 2. So this graph is not correct because that starts at positive 2. This graph is also not correct. Now we know that the slope is going to be positive. So this graph is not correct because the slope is going up this way. So this is our graph. That covers it. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'll answer them as soon as possible. Have a good day.